Fun.
Welcome to Reset to Healthier Relationships Sunday night at 9. I am your host, Coach Glenda, here with my course manager and co-host, Mr. Rufus Carpenter. As most of you already know, Rufus and I created this forum where you can discuss trials and triumphs in past and present relationships. We encourage everyone to share, speak their truth, and talk as much or as little as they would like. And before we get started by diving into tonight's topic, I'm going to let Mr. Carpenter tell you a little bit about his background to get us started.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Hey, I'm Rufus Carpenter. Like she said, my background is pretty easy, straightforward. I started as a young kid in a family of 14 in Virginia. It's like we never had enough. We all lived in a three-bedroom house, one bathroom. And if you ever shared beds with three or four of your siblings and one is occasional bedwetter, you know what it is about the human connection, the essence of it. My background didn't stop there. As a young adult, I was married like 27 years, and being married 27 years, you learn a thing about commitment, you learn a thing about trust, you learn a thing about communication, and you really learn a lot about compromise. These are the things not necessary for the understanding of human connection, but these are the things for successful marriage and to realize what a true connection and relationship is all about. Career didn't stop there. I joined the United States Army, and one of my jobs in the United States Army was a human and race relation leader. We had the responsibility of going into our units and check if there was any race or relationship issues. I'd be the first person on the scene, and I had a responsibility to do what's called an intake form. And with the intake form, I would decide what level of responsibility or resources we'd throw at solving problems in the unit. So also, I'm here to represent the night, the male version in the night, because Sunday Night at 9 was really designed as a community help group for ladies, where it's all set up. The framework is like 20 of you and your girlfriends are in your living room, and you're relaxed. It's 9 o'clock at night, so everything is a little quiet. You may be having a glass or two of wine, and you get to talk your truth. You get to talk about the relationships and the relationships as well as your breakthroughs, as well as the challenges you've covered. And you don't know, like I said, there's 20 girlfriends besides your sisterhood is there. And some of the stuff that you unburden yourself by getting it off your chest and telling, you may help the sister girl beside you. Because some of us don't dress up our issues as well as the others. So when we can hear somebody going through the same thing we went through and they survived and got through it, we understand that we can too. All right, so tonight we have an excellent topic, and a matter of fact, topic came from one of our listeners suggested the topic. Okay, Glenda.
All right, thank you, Mr. Carpenter, for sharing. Tonight's topic is another good one. I read over the material prior to tonight, and it was another hot topic. Tonight, we will be discussing compatibility and shared visions in relationships. The topic for tonight is walking in purpose. Are you cool with my journey? Now, at first, when I read the topic, I was like, what are we talking about tonight? But as I started to read and go through the material, it made a whole lot of sense because sometimes in relationship, the person that you are hitched up to, they don't understand your journey or your destiny plans or where you're trying to go in a relationship, or their life doesn't coincide with your 5-year plan. So tonight we're going to discuss compatibilities and shared visions in relationships. And just to give you something to think about, how do you determine if your partner shares your vision for your future? You don't have to answer right now, no hands, nobody has to talk, but I just want to give you that to think about while we, proceed with our discussion for tonight, because that is a lot to think about. How do you determine if your partner shares your vision for your future? So I'm going to allow Mr. Carpenter to kick us off a little bit before I chime back in.
Okay, this is kind of important because walking in your purpose can mean a lot. For a man, walking in your purpose it could be a spiritual thing. It could be a heartfelt thing that you want to give back to the community, or it could be that hey, you have a career on your mind. You got some definite things you got to get done by a certain age, so you get out there and get it done. And when you choose a partner, or you look for a partner, or you look companionship, you want somebody that can go with you, or at least somebody that will support you. And as we go through the night, you're going to find out that supporting you may not mean that they necessarily agree with what you do, but they'll support you. And a lot of times when you look for people to support you, a lot of times you're saying, hey, are you helping me to get there? Are you driving the train? Or are you actually going where I work? Are you working beside me? Or we're gonna say what that really looks like tonight. And we're gonna ask you to chime in and give your input of what it looks like to you, because all of us may have some different ideas what working with you and taking that journey and walk with you means. Okay.
All right. So, walking in purpose. All right. It's more than a motivational phrase. It's about living aligned with who you are called to be. But when you're in a relationship, your purpose doesn't walk alone. So the real question becomes, can your partner walk beside you, not behind you or in front of you? This discussion explores what it means to be compatible beyond surface attraction. It's about aligning values, direction, and life vision. And especially for women, often balancing ambition, tradition, and cultural expectation. It's it's vital to ask, are you building with someone who represents and supports the purpose within us? Now, I know for myself, most of the guys, I'll say 99% of the guys that I've dated, they were not in alignment with, my journey. That's why I think that was probably why we always bumped heads on a lot of things. Because I was always goal oriented. I was always trying to be successful. And the men that I dated, they were more into their downtime, their partying, their relaxation with their families and friends, playing games. I'm talking about video games and, hanging out at the club, and my mind was like, all of that doesn't pay my bills. All of that is not going to take me to where I'm really trying to go. So, even though I gave them opportunities after opportunities and chance after chance, eventually the relationships fizzled out because no matter how long I was with them and how many excuses I made for them, they wasn't respecting my journey. They started to complain. You work all the time. You don't spend, too much time with me. If you spend enough time with me, like you do church and work, we'll probably be better. No, we wouldn't. No, we wouldn't. No, we wouldn't. Trust me, because spending time with you doesn't consist of us being productive and making things happen for us. Spending time with you consists of chilling, watching TV, probably going to the movies, if that, or just, hanging out at home, streaming channels on our TV. No, that's not the type of life or relationship. I prefer to be with somebody who's going to take me to my next level, or at least help me become the best version of myself. And as I stated, 99% of the relationships that I have been in have been like that. So as I'm thinking now in retrospect, if I knew what I know now, they probably wouldn't have lasted 6 months. I probably could have saved myself a lot of time, money, and energy.
Well,
So
Glenda,
moving right along in tonight's discussion, was someone trying to say something?
yeah, I was going to say something because when I
Go right
listen
ahead,
to you
sir.
talk, because once again, the topic for the night is walk in your purpose. Are you cool with my journey? Now, when you look at that, and this is both. It's going to be both sides tonight, because I think a woman would look at it differently than a man would look at it. Because sometimes society says the man provides the direction for the household, or the direction for the relationship. A lot of times society will look at it like that. But now, in this day and time, modern relationships, ladies now actually have their own agenda, and you're more career orientated. You're more about getting it done quicker, because a lot of time men feel we have the rest of our life to get it done, where sometimes ladies feel like, I'm gonna get this done in 5 years, I'm gonna get it done in this year, I'm gonna get it done in 2 years. So here lies our opportunity for the night. Glenda, you were saying that people weren't going the same direction you were, or they weren't in line with your purpose. It's all depends how you look at it. You know, let's say we're trying to go to Walmart, and the Walmart is around the corner, down the street, and a little ways past 7-Eleven. Now, let's say I know a way of getting down there that going the long way around. It takes me 10 minutes to get there. You know a shortcut, you can get there in 5 minutes. But if we both wind up at Walmart, did we succeed on going where we were going? I know you said, what the heck? but what, I said that just to say the fact that sometimes going the same direction and walking alongside somebody going to the same purpose, it may have different path. You may not be on the same path, but you may end up going to the same destination. And that's just to get us started before we get started. We're going to talk a lot about this tonight, but I just want to throw it out there from the very beginning. So we can look at this thing from both sides, from a male perspective and a female perspective, and see how are we going. Now, this came from this is Annette Atkinson. She's the one that gave us this topic. And when she gave us, when I first saw this topic, I said, wow. I thought it was a good topic from the very beginning, but as we started researching the topic, we found out that, this really is a good one. Because a lot of times you have competition in relationships. You know, who wants to lead? Who wants to set the groundwork for where we're going? Who's going to follow? Who's going to lead? Or are we going to go together? Now, so far from what we said so far, can you think of a time when you realized you and your partner wasn't on the same path? Anybody on the audience, can you think of a time when you and your partner, it became very clear to you that you and your partner is not going through the same path? That's the first leg of the journey we're going to talk about before we get deep into this. Okay, can you read it for me, Glenda? I see it.
Okay, Andre has put 2 comments in the chat. Okay. So he said, so I wonder, would a woman feel comfortable putting a guy through school, i.e. he works, pays the bills while, let's see, my chat here, while he goes to med school or law school?
That's a great one to start off, because I think I make sure I'm paraphrasing this right. He's saying, would a woman support her man and put him through school, knowing that he's going to go to med school and become a doctor and going to carry the relationship after that? So the woman got to ante up to the bar first to do that. Now, as
but
a man,
I got a question.
Go ahead.
Wait a minute, Mr. Carpenter. Andre, can you tell me real quick, are they married or are they just dating?
Well, I've seen both. So like I got a friend now, he's putting his girlfriend through med school. But then I had another friend who put his wife at the time through nursing school. And now that she's finished nursing school, got a nurse practitioner, now she wants a divorce.
I didn't want to go there yet. I was going to go there, but I wanted to play with this a little bit before we got that far.
See, that makes a big difference for me. Because I can't give a man a husband benefits if he's not a husband. I have a problem with that, because in the marriage scenario you just stated, she pretty much got what she wanted from him, and now she's ready to call it quits. And now it makes me think that she only wanted to be married and have him support her through school just so she could get where she needed to be. So, I mean, did she really love him? Did something happen that we don't know about? Why all of a sudden after she graduates, she's ready to call it quits and get a divorce.
If no one else want to chime in on that, I'll chime in on that. Okay, anybody else want to chime in before I get in it?
But I know a married couple too that the husband put the wife through school, and after she got her degree or whatever, she called it quits.
Yeah, I'm not doing it.
Guys, let's hold back up, guys. Before we say this and that about, let's back up. You got to realize something. In relationships, we all grow. If we get into a relationship right now, for instance, Glenda, you and I get in a relationship right now, and we're pretty evenly matched and pretty good, and then you decide that that you want to go to med school or whatever, and we decide, okay, good, we marry. It's okay, Glenda, I'll put you through med school. Now, right now, we're about at the same level. Let's say I have a job. Let's say my job is a bus driver. I drive the city bus, the city transit bus. And let's say you were a secretary or office worker prior to decide you're going to go to medical school. All right, I'm driving the bus, and we decide that you're going to go to medical school. You go to medical school. I send you to medical school, and you go to medical school. I'm still driving the bus. Now, when you graduate, you're a full-fledged doctor. I'm still driving the bus. When you come back, full-fledged doctor, your husband's driving the bus, and you say, wait a minute now. It could be that you have grown to be a doctor, and I've gotten tired driving the bus. I'm satisfied and tired driving my bus. One of our growth was on a trajectory going forward, going up, and the other person was just ebb and flow, standing still. Mm-hmm. So the 8 years later, when you graduate from med school and you making all these hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I'm still making 32,000. And we get back together and say, okay, baby, now it's time for us to be husband and wife, live in the same house and get it on. Sometimes one has outgrown the other. Everybody look at me like I'm crazy. I mean, this is true. I mean, I've seen this is true stuff. All right, Glennie.
I get the outgrowing, but it was they made it known up front that he was going to support her while she went to school. But after she graduated, I would have thought they would have came back and said, now, honey, is there something you want to do so you can grow? Yes, absolutely. She grew because she's now a physician, nurse practitioner, whatever you want to call it. And, he invested all this time and sacrificed so much just to get her there. But I would think if they really loved each other and they had good intentions by the other, once everything was said and done, she would have circled back and said, well, honey, what is it that you want to do so I can support you? Because now we have the funds to, do now what you always dreamed of doing.
Now, I've seen this scenario play out a whole bunch of times. Yeah, and the majority of times I've seen it played out, it don't work well. Going on, and he's crazy.
Well, somebody don't have good intentions in the beginning when it's brought forth or communicated initially because what?
Well, you may say they can have good intentions in the beginning.
Oh.
They can. I mean, they can have good intentions from the beginning, but how life be lifing, as they say.
Absolutely.
Well, audience, help me out, audience. Please, somebody help me out, because we're struggling. Help me out, somebody.
All right.
Go ahead.
All right, I step up.
Okay.
Go ahead.
There comes a time where you sit down, you communicate, and your intentions are there to start out. But as life goes on and that one person is excelling, their lifestyle, their mentality changes because you're in a different plateau at that time. When they finish school, whether it's the lawyer or the doctor, they're on a different level now. And instead of bringing that other person that helped them get to that level up with them, they're now looking down on them and saying, hey, you're not on my level now. So now you got to step up your game. And instead of them trying to help them step up their game, Hey, look, I was fine at this job when you met me. I was fine at this job when you went through school. Why can't I still be fine at that job? Well, their mentality is higher now. Their expectations are higher. And that's what elevated. And that one person that pushed them through, they looking at it like, hey, it was good enough to get you where you at. Why can't I be content to stay where I'm at? I'm comfortable. You understand? Well, that other person is all way up here. They way up here. And because that person don't want to elevate no more and they find where they're at, now they feel they got to move on. That's that percentage I was telling y'all a while back. I was telling y'all 75%, instead of taking that 75%, adding another 10 or 15, you kick them to the curb. You accept that man to put you through school. It was fine then, but yet and still, now that you're not elevated above him and trying to get him to come or want him to come up where you at, let that man be who he is. Or woman be who they are. Y'all made it that far. Why can't you make it further? Do that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. It does make sense. It's if relationships are funny things. You can start out with all the best intentions in the world.
But when they throw that curveball into play, you can have all the intentions you want. I tell you what, I'm gonna change it for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you know you got a lump sum of money coming. Right now you content living like you're living. So guess what? Up until you get that money, your mindset is, man, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. When I get this, I'm gonna do this. That money hit your hand, you're gonna do everything but that. That's usually what happens. When you're in a relationship, you got all the intentions in the world for building a better future and what have you. But if life comes your way, like got you through school, y'all forget or they forget who got them where they at.
Mm-hmm.
They forget who was their backbone at the time. So now you up here on this plateau and you feeling better and feeling yourself, as they call it. You forget me. I'm not that same person no more in your eyes.
And that's why this is important. That's why this when this subject is very important. Do you understand the journey? Because we're on the journey. You cool with it? Because and the reason why the part about this, the second part of this, are you cool with my journey? Your journey that you're going on, that when the person sign on, they're signing on for the whole. They're signing on for the whole thing. If you know where you're headed from the very beginning, and they sign on, are you cool with my journey? Because my journey will take us somewhere. Are you willing to go where my journey's taking us? Are you willing to hitch your wagon to my wagon, or we put our wagons together and we go down this path together? Are you content in doing that?
Can I say something?
Please do.
I've seen this work. I have a family member that's from Atlanta. Her boyfriend at the time was in med school. They got married, and he told her that he was in med school, he couldn't work. So she took care of the bills. She made sure he ate, made sure he studied, kept a roof over it, over their heads. And then once he became a doctor, he put her through school, and now she's a realtor. So it does work. But in watching them, it was mainly communication and doing what they said they were going to do. But they're still together, and they raised two children, and they're still going strong.
Well, see, they were in alignment with each other's journey.
And that's the key right there.
Correct. They were in alignment and they both grew. No one stood still. They both of them grew in a relationship.
Right.
Both grew. Now, if you're in a relationship and one is growing and the other one's standing still, That's going to get outpaced.
Right.
And how long will the one that's growing gonna watch the other one sit there and just do nothing?
Right.
That's two people that has goals. That's
Correct.
goal oriented.
Correct.
You understand?
Correct.
But in a lot of relationships, okay, you have that one person, their dream and goal, say for example, might have been wanting to drive a transit bus, city
Mm-hmm.
transit.
Mm-hmm.
They're content with driving. That's all they wanted to do, and that's what they love doing. And if that's something they love doing, and it's got that other person elevated to where they want to be, you should have communication to understand that, hey, this is what I love doing. This is what got you where you at. So why can't it continuously get us where we at? It don't matter who's making the most money anymore. It shouldn't matter. But
It,
a lot of relationship people feel that, hey, if you ain't making what I'm making, I don't need to be with you.
That's stinking thinking.
I guess it goes back to your choice. When are you aligned with the right person? Is the person are you and the person in alignment? Not preference, but are you and that person aligned? You and that person want the same things in life, have the same goals. If you and that person are aligned and have the same things out of life, and have the same goals, you're both moving in the same direction. But when you're unequally yoked, or you with someone that really they're more of an opportunist more than they are. Because remember, we said there's two types of people: a giver and a taker.
Mm-hmm.
And remember how we talked about that from the very beginning of this year, how we talked about that thing? When you start talking about, are you cool with the direction I'm going? That person have to make a decision. Are they cool with what you say, the direction you're headed? Are they cool with you? Is it more than a preference? Are they aligned with your goals and your priorities? That's what this is more about.
Well, let me ask you something.
Uh-huh.
Okay, if you're saying they both have to be aligned together with the same goal, does it have to be per se the same goal, or the goal with what they want to do and what you want to do is two different things? Also, um, even with the goals, the one person cannot look at the other person and say, "Okay, you're slow, so I don't need to be with you because you're not going as fast as I'm going." You know, um, that is unequally yoked also
Okay.
because
Okay.
God uh, puts you through things. He'll either slow you down, put you where he wants you to be, or he'll say wait. And you can be in that wait stage and want to be somewhere, but you're in that stage, God said, not now. So do you leave them because of that?
That's a good one. That's a good one. Everybody you should be able to handle a person's evolution. And that's, we all have different stages we go through and things we go through. And that's when it says it's the evolution, that how we get to where we're going to. Because like you say, God do have path for all of us. I tell you, let's do this. Good. Let's
Let,
go through the
let
examples.
me say this.
Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Can I say this?
Yes, you can.
Let me give you this example. The reason why I say that. I wrote a book. I thought I was finished with my book. And I was so happy about it because I was going to go to print in
Mm-hmm.
December.
Mm-hmm.
But when the editors got to my book, they said, not now. We got to go line by line, and there are going to be some major changes in your book. We're not going to change your content, but there's going to have to be some major changes. So I'm still going through that. So when I said I was done with my book, I said, wait, I was ready, but I have to wait. So
Okay.
do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes, I understand. And let's make sure I'm paraphrasing right. In your heart and your mind, you thought all was done and you're ready to move forward. But the reality of the situation where you were just you were in you weren't in the launch stage, but you were in the stage of you've kind of almost there, but you're not quite there. You need to take a second look. You need to back up and add more meat to the bone, is what you're saying, correct?
Right. And then when you have a partner that thinks you're doing nothing, but
Oh, got it, got it, got it, got it, got it, got it
now
now.
you with me?
Got it now, got it now. And that's back to what it said. Your partner don't understand your evolution. They don't understand what it takes you to get to where you're gonna go. That's what that is. In their mind, your dream is invalid. You're not where you need to be in their mind. Got it. Glenda, let's go through the examples because when the examples going to pull out this a lot more. I think you in chat. I think chat got you, Glenda. I think chat has Glenda.
Okay, I'm here. I'm here. Okay. I didn't forget about you guys. Okay, so that's
Do you
funny.
want to? Do we need to go to chat first, or do you do examples?
No,
Then come back to chat.
no,
How you
I'm
want
gonna
to do
do the
it?
examples.
And then
Okay,
we'll come
we
back to
have
chat. Okay, go ahead.
okay, we have Tasha and Marcus. Tasha is passionate about starting a nonprofit for young girls, but Marcus consistently suggests she wants she wants to wait until their kids are older. She starts to doubt her timing, but but is she truly supported or just being tolerated? Let me read it again. Tasha is passionate about starting a nonprofit for young girls, but Marcus constantly suggests she can wait until their kids are older. She starts to doubt her timing, but is she truly supported or just being tolerated?
Okay, that's a good one. A lot of times, guys, we do that to ladies. A lot of times, ladies can really have what they want to do, and if we don't see them as being priorities in our life, a lot of times we discourage them, or we can't see their vision, and we say, "Hey, look, maybe now is not the right time. It's a lot to do around this house. We just, it's so much to do around the house. We just moved here. Why don't let's give it a few years before we let you go out and do your thing." And I'll do my thing while you prepare in the house or the baby and stuff like that. So a lot of times it's not we just don't support you. We don't we give you lip service a lot of times. A lot of times guys give lip service because they don't want you to get out there and do that, right? We try to slow your roll a little bit. Even in my own marriage, I realized at the time my wife wanted to do some things and I couldn't see her vision. I didn't see it in my mind, what the heck you want to go out there and do that for? No. So I was very discouraging. I tried to discourage her. But really, now hindsight, did I do her great service? Did I do wrong or
Well,
go ahead, Mr. Kingdom. I know you're gonna say something. Go ahead, say it.
it boils down to one thing and one thing only.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
It starts off with the proper communication
Mm-hmm.
in that situation because everything is a give and take, give and take. Okay. And to give you an example of that, when you have the proper communication and the understanding, then now you can either ride along with them and be there for them, or if you don't see their vision and what makes them tick or happy, why discourage them? Because discouraging them is just going to bring a wall up and push them away. You understand? So what you got to do is either accept where they're going, be there for them while they're going, or you might as well call that a deal breaker and just move on because neither one of you going to be happy in the end. It's no way it's going to work. So you first of all got to sit down and have a communication to see really where you're focused and what makes you tick. If you need unleaded gas or if you need premium, you got to see what's going to keep them happy. You understand? Because if they ain't happy, you ain't going to be happy. If you ain't happy, they ain't going to be happy. You're going to be like Donald Trump and Obama. Y'all going to be clashing.
I gotta admit, after I was divorced, that's one of the first things my wife told me. She said, "When I wanted to do this, Rufus, you didn't support me." I thought, I couldn't say anything. She was right.
Well, Rufus, let me ask you a question.
Uh-huh.
There comes a time, okay, for example, with my life, shit, I hated shopping. She always want to go to the mall. You understand? Hell, I ain't going to no mall. That ain't me. I don't do the mall thing. Then again, I like to go fishing and stuff, racetrack. She ain't like doing that. So guess what? We went separate ways until it became separate. In times, you got to sacrifice with me. I started going to the damn mall. And guess what? By me going to that mall, she would go with me to the racetrack. She ain't go fishing, but she went to the racetrack. You understand? Because it's like this. You got a conscience within yourself. I don't care who you are. You got a conscience. If I start going and do stuff that I don't like for the sake of being with you, and now you come and you good with that, your conscience kicks in hey, look, I'm going to the track and I want you to go. But damn, he went with me these times. I can go at least one time.
Right.
You understand? It's about that communication and that give and take. We do a lot of things in life that we don't want to do. We see a lot of visions. We see a lot of visions that we don't agree with that the other partner is doing and want. But if that makes them happy, shit, hey, you still got to be that backbone.
Yeah, I guess the insight in that scenario was being cool with the journey means that you give active support, not just lip service. You gave active support. Okay, good deal. All right, Glenda.
That's it.
Are you still in chat, huh?
No, I'm not. Give me 1 second. Okay, we have Brianna and Devin. Brianna's calling leads her into ministry. Devin says he's supportive, but every time she preaches, he downplays it. His insecurity about her visibility threatens their bond.
Okay, this is a good one. Anybody want to chime in on this one? Anybody want to chime in on this one?
Yeah, I have personal experience with that. With accepting assignments and my spouse, being at the event or the assignment and just like not as how could I put it? Acceptable. It's not totally supportive. Supportive on one end, but then not on as far as engagements.
Okay.
And that's and with this insight, we found out insight with this right here is they have to have that your partner has to have that emotional maturity to celebrate your partner's light. Let your partner light shine. You have to have that emotional maturity. Don't compete with it, because a lot of times husband and wives want to compete with each other. You don't compete. Let that person light shine and support that person's light. But that's mental maturity. A lot of times our significant other, spouses, or best friends don't have that emotional maturity to do that. So yeah, that's a good one. That's a good example there. That's a good example. So thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing with us, Dr. Johnson. Okay, we'll go for anybody else talk about this? Go to number 3. Go ahead, Kingdom.
Glenda, that statement you made about want to be the pastor, minister, or whatever, I lived that. I had my ex-wife, my son's mom,
Mm-hmm.
was an ordained minister. But when she get up there and preach, like the one particular sermon she preached on spare the rod, spoil the child.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to preach something, and it's another thing to live it. When you're not living what you're preaching,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes an issue. You understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
how can you support someone when they're not actively living what they're speaking?
Yeah, I think that's where you got to get on your knees in prayer and fast. That might be
Well,
then.
Yeah.
well, you can get on your knees and pray and fast all you want, but at the end of the day, it's a deal breaker. It's a deal breaker. That's a lose-lose situation.
Yeah, and that's why I say prayer because because you can't, like you said, you're right. You made it clear you can't change it. You made it
Mm-hmm.
very clear you couldn't change it.
And you're not going to change it. So
Correct.
you can get on your knees and pray all you want, but only thing you're praying for is a peace of mind and clarity within yourself. Because your praying ain't going to change the situation for as where she or he's at.
Mm-hmm.
It's only going to change you and your situation. So either way it go, at the end of the day, as far as that um, example you just
Mm-hmm.
gave, that's a no-win situation
Yeah.
because you can't pretty much support a person like that. You just can't. And I'm talking from experience.
Right. And you're gonna find out most of these illustrations have got a true case studies that we really try to make it as real as possible. This isn't just us just having fun talking tonight. We try to have real illustrations so that way you understand we're talking about real life situations here. Okay. Any additional one that before we go to number three?
Yeah. If somebody have an answer for that, a suggestion or opinion, tell me.
Well, our insight was that is that you have to have the emotional maturity to celebrate with your partner, to celebrate your partner's light. And that's what that was. That you wouldn't compete or try to hold them back or dim them. You will let them be themselves and let them prosper. That
And
was our insight.
and
Good.
in order to do that, deal breaker, let them go
Well,
because it's
yeah.
only gonna bring misery within.
Okay.
And I'm just being for real because, like I said, that same scenario she just spoke of
Mm-hmm.
is where I was.
Yeah,
I
but
followed this woman to every church, get
yeah,
behind her and support her all the way until she wasn't living it.
Mm-hmm.
well, once again, let Glenn and we are relationship coaches, and our responsibility is to shed light. We're not here to tell you that you should break up or not. We try to give you enough information that you can make an intelligent decision for your own individual situation. Because we're not here to tell you break up or anything like that. Well, we're here to tell you that here are some of the things that you should take notice of. That's pretty much what we do. All right. So a lot of times we don't say break up or get rid of, move out or like that. It's because our hands are kind of tied that we can't tell you to break up. We can't suggest you break up. We can suggest you can get counseling. We can suggest that you can reconsider. We can suggest that you have to ask yourself, is the relationship serving you or not? We can do those things, but very rarely will we tell you come out and break up with a relationship. Very rarely will we tell you that. As a matter of fact, 100% of the time, we're not going to tell you that. But we may suggest it in some of the comments we use. Okay? All right. Next, Glenda. Three.
All right. Example number 3, we have Anika and Jordan. Anika is an author writing about healing and Black womanhood. Let me repeat that. Anika is an author writing about healing and Black womanhood. Jordan is a tech entrepreneur, different callings, but they both understand the need for late nights, creative freedom, and encouraging rest. They don't walk the same road, but they walk together.
Okay, this is when I was talking about going to Walmart and we had to pass 7-Eleven. And I took the long way around, you took the shortcut. This is that one. This is that for sure. One is an author writing about healing the womanhood, and the other, Jordan, he's a tech entrepreneur.
Right.
They have different callings, but they're going in the same direction because they know it takes late nights to be successful. They know they got to have creative freedom, and they have to, and it requires a lot of rest. Because if you know anything about writing or being a tech, you know you got to have your sleep. Because if you're not sleeping, your cognitive function isn't right. So you got to get a sleep and rest. Now they're not going the same road. They're not going on the same road, but they're getting to the same destination. Both of them have dreams and goals.
Right.
That's what I was trying to say when I was saying that Walmart thing going by 7-Eleven. That's what I was trying to say.
Well, in that situation, they have good understanding.
Mm-hmm.
They do.
They have proper and excellent understanding from their communication that they're using and have. Because with that communication they got, brings understanding and self-awareness. You know I got to do this. So guess what? I know you got to do that. Now we're compromising, we're agreeing through the conversation and the communication, and that's how it works. But not one of them was lacking in that communication, or if one of them was lacking in that understanding, they would be in the same turmoil.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what they have is what we in relationship we call synergy. They both have synergy in the relationships. They're working on their goals and they're working together. It's synergy.
Right.
They may be different projects, but they agree they're growing together. Okay. Any
Yep.
questions about this one before we go into the fourth one? Our last scenario. All right, Glenda, fourth one.
All right. We have Melina and Chris. Melina starts therapy to work through generational trauma. Chris says, we don't need that stuff. Just pray about it. Over time, his resistance to her healing creates emotional distance. Let me repeat it one more time. Melina starts therapy to work through generational trauma. Chris says, we don't need that. Just pray about it. Over time, his resistance to her healing creates emotional distance.
Okay, this sounds like a black household, huh? Okay, anyone want to jump on that one? Okay, what Andre say?
Oh, let me see what Andre says. I never understood why people would assume just praying alone would resolve the issue. You're absolutely right. We always need backup for the backup. I totally agree. Trust me, I know people that always refer to prayer and God for everything, but you got to think about it. God put therapists and counselors all in place for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those professions, they are religious. But, you can't go to your own pastor or preacher, with all your problems, because sometimes you don't want your church family or your church leaders to know everything that you're going through. I mean, sometimes it's good, but not everything.
Right.
And sometimes you need to think outside the box and get someone else's opinion, a non-biased opinion. And that's why I think therapists, psychiatrists, and, all these other professions were, they're in place just for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're just coming out of the stigma that a lot of black neighborhoods and black communities think that you don't need that stuff. That's a psychiatrist. We don't do that.
Right.
We ain't crazy. We ain't going.
And those are the same ones that don't even want to go to the doctor for routine visits to find out what's going on in their body. So those types of people, I don't listen to. You say what you want to, but it goes through one ear, not the other with me.
But a lot of times going to a therapist
Mm-hmm.
is not for, say, to get an opinion or get their advice. A lot of time going to a therapist is having that one person that will sit down and listen to you. You understand? Because what we need every now and then is to do what they call vent. So if we go to a therapist, say, Glenda, if I come to you and you just sit there and don't say nothing, and I'm sitting there just blabbing and blabbing and blabbing and blabbing, getting it off my chest, when I leave, you ain't said a word, but I'm at peace and I'm good because now I done got that off my chest.
Right.
You understand? So
Right.
it's not necessarily about the opinions or the advice. It's about you relieving the pressure of that buildup.
That's right. Sometimes
You
you
know what
just
I'm
need
saying?
somebody to listen to you.
Like I told y'all before, that's one thing that a female wants. Somebody to listen.
Mhm.
So just get it off. Just listen.
I remember I always thought that my family, we don't go to psychiatrists. Hey, you got to be crazy to go. And I never would go. I never wanted to go. And then once my wife told me, she said, Rufus, you need to go see the man. So we go see the man. She said, you got to go see the man. And I just came back from, I think, Desert Storm. Then I was in the military. She said, you got to go see the man. I said, what do you mean? She said, you got problems. You need help. And I wouldn't go, but eventually it got to the point I had to go. And when I went, the man told me that I told the man what everybody was telling me. And I told the man, they got to be crazy. The man said, Mr. Carpenter, you may have some issues we might need to talk about. So I said, what? You're saying I'm crazy? I said, whoa. I thought everybody else had the problem. I honestly, in my heart, thought everybody else had the problem. But after being with a doctor, slowly, I began to realize I might be the problem. It took me a long time to wrestle with that thing. But after years and years, I realized that there's sometimes we need to go. And sometimes you need help to work through some of the things that you go through. Not so much, you need people to help you sort some stuff out. Let's put it that way. And when you do that, you grow. You grow personally. So in this scenario, Chris may not have did his wife justice by not letting her go or trying to talk her out of it, because he stopped her growth. Had she was able to go, she could grow in that relationship, and he would find out that a relationship would even grow more. So in this scenario, her growth offended him. So was he thinking of her growth or her in that relationship? No. Nope. All right, so let's start bringing this in because we got a few more minutes. Let's talk about this. Anybody else want to talk about anything we discussed on these scenarios or anything about this we talked about tonight? Because this subject, walking in purpose, are you cool with my journey? Now, are you cool with my journey means, are you aligned? Is there synergy there? Are we going in the same direction? And it's important to realize that you need each other's support. If we're going to be partners in this relationship, whether it's a marriage, whether it's engagement, whether it's friends, are we going to be partners in this? Are we going to support each other? We got synergy in through this. Is a purpose over preference? Do we have shared vision? Emotional safety. Can I come to you and share my emotions with you? Can we grow together? These are the things that's important. Being cool with my journey, can I walk in purpose unapologetically? When I first heard this subject, it was, hey, here's where I'm going. Are you cool with it? When I thought about that, are you cool with it? When I first said, are you cool with it? Here's where I'm going. Are you cool with it? If I'm cool with it, I'm gonna hook up. If I ain't cool with you, I ain't gonna hook up. I'm going the other direction. But there's a lot to this. Is Anna you still online? You want to comment on this, Anna? Because this was your topic that you had brought out a while back, and we circled back and we came to it. Anything you want to put out? Anything we missed or haven't covered in your version?
No, I am online. However, it has been good listening, and I have enjoyed it actually, because it has gone deeper than I perceived it. But I like where we've done with it. No, okay, I do like this. Thank you.
Good. Because core truths in this, the core truths are purpose, thrive in safety and alignment. If your partner make you feel safe and they're aligned, you get to thrive. Compatibility is more than just chemistry. It's shared direction. Growth can create discomfort, even for the loved ones. Even if you love me, if my growth sometimes can make discomfort, because sometimes you wasn't aware of my abilities. I wasn't aware of your abilities. You know, when you first meet somebody, they can be, they could have been held back all their childhood, and it could be a giant, sleepy giant inside of the person. When you allow them to grow and blossom, man, wow. Like Dr. Johnson said, when she started preaching, her husband with her partner would kind of like say, wow. You got to realize something. He could have said, wow. When he started preaching, he said, wow, what God is doing with this woman could scare you. It could be scary. It's so much, because you don't realize how sometimes one of the partners can catch fire and their light can just shine so bright. And sometimes it shines so bright, if you don't know how to take that, you might get overshadowed. But if you believe and you share the same dreams and the same goals, you going in the same direction, you understand, wow, this is us. It's not just her or him, it's us. We both grow. Mm-hmm. So, what are some things you're talking about here? We're talking about you don't have to shrink in your relationship. Being aligned, don't shrink. You both get to grow. And that's what we're talking about. Glenda, you want to share something before we take this on home? Or you want to take it home?
I could do our closing for tonight. Let me leave you with this. Purpose is not always pretty, and the journey won't always make sense to others. But you don't need anyone to get it. You just need the right one. The one who respects the weight of your calling, even if they don't fully understand it. The one who says, go for it, and really means it. Whether you're in love, out of love, or in a transition, you deserve a love that doesn't shrink your spirit. So ask yourself tonight, are you really cool with your journey? And more importantly, are you? Let's sit and think about this as it resonates, and let's talk about it.
That was awesome. Thank you for that. And I think next week we're doing Kingdom's thing. What was that? What's next week's topic? Because I think Kingdom had a question we had to answer.
Yes, is being in love the same as what you say?
Let's give them the short version tonight, but we'll actually go into it full force tomorrow, next week. Next week's Easter too, isn't it?
Right.
All right, so Easter we'll cover his thing. Because matter of fact, that might fit.
Yes, it's being.
Go ahead, say it.
No problem. Okay, the topic for next week is being in love the same as loving a person? That was Mr. Kingdom's question from last Sunday night.
Do we have a short version we can give him tonight, and then we'll give him the full version tomorrow?
Well, we can give him the short answer. No, being in love and loving a person are not quite the same, though they're deeply connected.
Okay, good question. So we can, and matter of fact, that would be a good one for next week since it's Easter, because then, because some of us say we love Christ, but being in saying it and actually living it, that might be a good Okay, everybody, it's been fun. Hey, glad to see everybody back this week. See you next week, everybody. Oh, happy Palm
Sunday, good night, everyone.
Sunday. Send everybody a Palm Sunday blessing. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
And thanks for the topic, Annette.
You're welcome.